Okay, so the theme for January is kind of a little bit of, we're still housekeeping. So my personal feeling is that 2022 will really kick in to this new direction that we've been promised, the Chinese New Year, so February time. Now, some people are saying, oh, it's not until like March, April time. There's a certain alignment in April. Apparently, the planets are all doing special things. But my own energetic feeling is many of us are starting to pop out now. And this has started since November, December time. Some of you might have already settled into a certain directionality in terms of, okay, post-COVID. Now, obviously, post-COVID doesn't mean no COVID, but it means sitting and settling into the new life that is post-COVID. So the understanding that things have really changed and how that impacts you and how that impacts your work, your life flow, how you're engaging with the way that the world is set up now post-COVID. And for some of us, we've been feeling that we're quite settled already. Now, I know for me, that hasn't been the case. I'm just starting to come into a feeling of settlement. And I think that will accelerate over the next couple of months. And for some of you, you might be really not anywhere near the end of that particular tunnel. And so the only thing I can say is that the energetic squeeze is still on us, and it is still going to be on us all through January. There's a lot of very intense solar flares, and there's a whole bunch of intensity in terms of new moons and full moons and blah, 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 blah. Then I think the Chinese New Year, there is going to be a feeling of more established renewal, more lightness, and almost like the kind of opportunities that we've been putting into place over the last 6 months are going to start coming into fruition or coming into a kind of flowering. So that's the hope. But obviously with all these things, it's also within that to be very mindful of your expectations. So sometimes I think we can have this expectation that, oh, it's going to be a flowering, it's all going to be amazing and wonderful. But remembering that this whole squeeze, if you like, through COVID and into what we're calling the new earth or the 5D dimensional energy is actually a letting go process. And part of that letting go process is really looking at very, very deep paradigms. So one of the things that has really struck me recently, and I'm not really sure if I can explain it properly. I was in my mind this morning, how am I going to explain this? But it's the pathways to success, okay? So old paradigm, pathways to success were pretty clearly laid out, right? You go, you get an education, you get a job with a corporation, you then do a little bit of corporate work and you climb the ladder. And there's even like career ladder, and you have to do this and do that. And then in Singapore, we're very familiar with the 4 C's, and you have to tick all of those boxes. And it's almost like you're either doing it correctly or you're basically a failure, right? I mean, it's that clear cut. And this is a paradigm that we have been brought up with, and our parents have been very eager for us to be successful in certain ways. And we are probably doing the same thing with our kids in certain ways, unconsciously trying to push them into what is generally seen as a successful life. Now, I think one of the biggest paradigm shifts that is going to happen and is happening is the breakdown of this pathway. Now, that's not to say this pathway will disappear, but it will become one of many. And the definition of success is going to become much more about personal authenticity. Now, what I mean by that is your willingness to actually live an authentic life, however that means, and whatever outpouring that is for you. And it may be not traditionally successful at all, simply that you are happy, that you are content, that you are peaceful. You might be having a so-called job or or you might be working in a way that doesn't particularly give you a huge amount of financial success, but there is a sense of peace in your heart. And there is a sense that you are expressing yourself fully in your own life, in your own body, within your own family, and that your own priorities are ticked. And so part of those priorities might be community, it might be family, it might be relationships, it might even be your hobby, you know. And I think that there is this feeling that the new earth, or the 5D, I really liken it to 5G. And I know that many people are like, oh, 5G is really bad. But to me, 5G and 5D is the same essence. So 5G technology is essentially the ability for us to be fully immersed into a virtual world, right? So in the ads, you know, you've got the people going into a football match and all the phones that are videoing all the videos. It means that you can see from any angle. You can turn your phone around and you can see all the different angles. Now, the idea of the fifth dimensional energy is that we become more and more whole. So we are one dimension of a multifaceted wholeness or oneness. And this is very different from this idea of success as one pathway. This actually means that we're multifaceted, and my experience of my life and your experience of your life is equally valid, no matter what my life is, whatever your life is. It doesn't matter. We're actually, all of us, contributing to a whole evolution of consciousness. I don't know if that makes sense to you at all, but it's just become really clear to me that that's like a really powerful definition that is shifting the way society is moving. And I think that movement, as we keep on going into 2020, is going to become more and more and more clear for many of us. There's still going to be many of us trying to climb that career ladder, because that is our facet. That's what we're supposed to be doing, right? That somebody needs to run a corporation. And then there's going to be others of us who are leading much more simple lives, equally happy, equally fulfilled, as long as we can disengage from the rhetoric that there is only one way to be successful. And I think that this, for many of us, is going to be, this is certainly what one of the things COVID's been about, because it smashed a lot of these structures and has really made us consider over the last few years, what are the priorities? What is our definition of success? And what is our definition of personal fulfillment? And so now, having gained a bit of clarity around that, now the next stage is putting that into action. And perhaps some of the settling of the energy that many of us are feeling is because we've got more clarity on that. So we've got more clarity now on our priorities, more clarity now on what kind of direction is important to us. And now it's a matter over the next couple of years of actually starting to bring that into practice. And as we do that, there's always going to be the FOMO, you know, the fear of missing out when you're looking at your friends or your loved ones, or even the judgment of those people who are not quite fully integrated in the more faceted way of looking at things, that there may be some judgment, there may be, you know, there's going to be all of these things that we need to contend with. But when we really settle in our hearts as to what's really important for us, then all of that external rhetoric becomes much, much less important. And I think that's something that is really worthwhile considering as you continue to shift in your directions. Now, I know some of you have already kind of landed there already. You're very happy, you know your priorities, you've made adjustments accordingly. And then for others of us, we're still kind of finding that flow. And I think that's the promise of 2022, is for us to really land into our authenticity, and no excuses, no apologies, no having to kind of justify ourselves. It's just, actually, this is my facet. This is my little contribution to the evolutionary process. This is my contribution to how consciousness is evolving, and I'm part of that. And that's my job. And I think that that will become more and more prevalent. And it also means there'll be this huge expansion of the way people live, right? And you'll be able to find your own little community of people who are living the same way you are and agreeing with the way that you express yourself. And I think there's going to be this massive extension and expansion of diversity, which is really cool, right? But part of your job, part of my job, part of our job is to kind of find where we fit in all that. And I think that directionality, it's almost like as you continue to focus your attention on doing what you're passionate about or what you enjoy, what you love doing, then the next step will unfold and the next step will unfold. And it might create all kinds of new opportunities and avenues that you've never really considered before. So let's start off. Hands in Garsho, prayer pose in front of your heart center. We're just going to start off by taking a few breaths and watching the breath. Starting to bring your attention internally. And then bringing your attention up into the crown chakra, right at the top of the head. Imagining 1,000-petaled lotus. And imagine that you are opening it. So the petals are just opening a little bit more widely. Allowing the Reiki energy down into the crown, all the way down the chakras into the heart center. And then as you breathe, as you inhale, you allow the energy all the way down into the heart. And as you exhale, you bring the energy down through the arms into the hands. And for those of you Reiki 2 and above, just using your symbols now. And you can either put the symbols straight into the computer with all the names, the faces, or you can just imagine in your mind a label with all the people in this meeting group and joining afterwards, anybody listening to the container afterwards. And then bringing your hands anywhere down onto the body that feels comfortable. You could try the heart center and the solar plexus. Sometimes people prefer just to have their hands in their lap or maybe on the tummy. And feel free to move your hands during this meditation as well. And we start off just doing a quick body scan, relaxing, breathing into the muscles of the eyes and the face, relaxing the jaw. And then down into the shoulders, relaxing all the way down the arms to the hands and fingers. Into the chest. Every exhale, just relaxing the body, relaxing the torso, the upper back. Down into the belly, softening the tummy area, all the organs, the lower back, the pelvis. All the way down the legs to the feet. And then imagining the soles of the feet, these shafts of light shooting down through the floor into Mother Earth, anchoring you. You might imagine those lights shooting out like roots, or perhaps even the shape of an anchor. You might notice some tingling in the feet as you ground, just bringing your attention all the way down there, making sure you're nice and solid in the body. And then bringing your attention back up into the heart center. Imagine a brilliant, bright white light right in the center of the chest, the heart chakra. And if it ends up feeling like a different color, maybe green or pink, or any other color or colors, just observing this intensity, and as you breathe, just making that intensity stronger until it starts to expand out all the way through the chest, all the way out into the aura. A brilliant light. And starting to visualize and feel energetically all the other people also on the call with you right now, listening later. Just start to expand that energy to support them too. Noticing the expansion as their support comes back to you. You may visualize it as a grid, an intricate crystalline structure, perhaps even the flower of life. A beautiful structure of sharing, energetic community and connection. And as you visualize or have a felt sense of this connection, also notice that even though it is one, you might notice some slight visual differences, different colors, different vibrational frequencies, different patterns. Maybe it's more like a felt sense of different vibrations, all in harmony, yet unique. Noticing a vibration of love and gratitude underlying it all. And breathing into that love. A shared endeavor. And as this shared support continues, starting to bring your attention once again back into your own heart chakra. Noticing your own body system. And starting to have gratitude. Your physical body. Noticing other areas that you have gratitude for. Loved ones. Your passions. Your life story or history. And just relaxing into any memories that may pop up. Any visuals, moments. And noticing even if some of them may be so-called negative or challenging. Each and every one brought you exactly where you are now. Gave you strength. Learnings and understandings. And very gently just allowing all of these memories, images, thoughts to drop away. Perhaps letting them absorb down through the feet chakra, down into Mother Earth. So that you are noticing just yourself, the purity of your spirit. A clean slate. Just your own consciousness. The deep love in your heart. And without needing to grasp or know, without even needing a direction or goal. Simply being. Simple awareness. Just willing to allow the universe to bring you what's next. Without pushing, without striving. Simply allowing the next thing, the next inspiration. with an open heart. With clarity, no baggage or preconceived ideas. Noticing the openness in your heart, let it expand all the way through your body, releasing you from any remaining limitations, structures, belief systems, just letting them all drop. Noticing if the mind starts to get busy again, using the breath, keeping the clarity, the purity, the neutrality. Noticing how peaceful it is when the mind is not grasping, pulling you this way and that way, when it is simply resting, peaceful, undisturbed. And any time you notice the mind, simply bringing your attention back down into the heart center. Breathing into that intense light. Noticing how spacious it is. And gently starting to bring your awareness and thanks to all the support from everybody else. Giving thanks to everybody sharing their energy today. And starting to notice your own boundaries, your own aura. Making sure it's full of light, perhaps even color. Bringing your attention to your physical body, the top of your head, down through the face, neck and shoulders. Noticing the fingers, the breath in the chest. Taking a few deeper breaths down into the belly as well. Noticing the legs, wiggling the feet and toes. Giving your fingers a squeeze, raising your hands above your head. Giving a little wiggle and a shake. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes.